Imagine a paralyzed man walking after a single command. Divine miracle or the power of the mind? Today, we'll explore the fascinating intersection between faith, psychology, and neuroscience, unraveling the mystery behind healings that defy logic and science. Get ready to question what you know about the human body and mind. The biblical narrative of the healing of the lame man by Peter and John in Acts 3 is much more than a simple religious account. It invites us to a profound immersion into the roots of belief in healings that seem to transcend conventional medicine. In that era, illness was often perceived as a divine punishment, a manifestation of sins, or a test of faith. And consequently, healing was seen as a direct supernatural intervention from God. This cultural understanding deeply shaped the experience of the sick and the expectation of a miracle. The man in question, lame from birth, is a figure who personifies extreme hopelessness and dependence. His condition prevented him from fully participating in the social, economic, and religious life of the community, confining him to an existence of marginalization and begging. By asking for alms at the temple gate, known as the Beautiful Gate, a place of great circulation and symbolism, he symbolizes human fragility and the incessant search for any form of relief or redemption that could break the cycle of his misery. His daily presence, there was a vivid reminder of the fragility of existence. Peter, one of Jesus' chief apostles, driven by an unwavering faith and the authority he felt he had received from the divine through Christ, did not offer the man the material wealth he expected, silver or gold, which were the common currencies of charity at the time. Instead, Peter offered something he considered of infinitely greater and transformative value: healing in the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth. This simple command, uttered with impressive conviction and absolute certainty, "Rise up and walk," is not merely a verbal instruction. It is a powerful catalyst for a radical transformation that would unfold right there, in front of an astonished crowd and within a context of deep religious belief. Peter's unshakable faith, combined with the sudden and intense expectation generated in the lame man, who, instead of the expected alms, received a direct command of healing, intertwined at a crucial moment. It is at this point of convergence between profound beliefs, Peter's perceived authority, and the powerful wills of both that the foundation for what was to follow was established. An intrinsic link was created between the divine and the human, the spiritual and the physical, defying the boundaries of rational and materialistic understanding. The scene of the healing reminds us of the powerful and still little understood influence that belief, hope, and suggestion can exert on the human body. This event serves as an intriguing prelude to the discussions that modern science would bring, questioning the limits of what we consider possible for the mind and body. The story, therefore, is not just a miracle isolated in time, but a timeless invitation to explore the complex interaction between faith, psyche, and biology. It forces us to consider the depths of human conviction and its transformative potential, paving the way for a deeper investigation into the science behind such events. The history of humanity is a vast repository of accounts that echo the extraordinary healing of the lame man, where faith, in its diverse and multifaceted forms, seems to operate remarkable transformations in the human body. From ancient traditions of pilgrimages to sacred sites, such as Lourdes in France or Fatima in Portugal, to the most elaborate religious ceremonies with an explicit focus on healings and miracles, countless testimonies describe the relief of debilitating chronic pain, the recovery of previously impossible movements, and even the unexpected remission of diseases considered incurable or terminal by the medicine of the time. These accounts, although often lacking rigorous scientific validation by modern means, are a testament to the persistent and universal human belief in the power of faith over illness and suffering. They permeate cultures and epochs, suggesting a dimension that goes beyond purely biological explanation. In the realm of contemporary science, the placebo effect, emerges as one of the most evident and scientifically proven manifestations of this profound mind-body connection. The placebo, derived from the Latin "I shall please," is not an illusion, but an intervention without specific pharmacological properties for the treated condition. However, patients who receive an inert substance, such as a sugar pill, a saline injection, or even a sham surgery, but who firmly believe they are being treated with an effective medication or procedure, frequently experience significant improvements in their symptoms. This phenomenon unequivocally demonstrates the power of expectation, belief, and suggestion in modulating pain perception, reducing anxiety, releasing endorphins, and activating the body's own internal healing mechanisms. The brain, by anticipating improvement, can trigger a series of biochemical and neurological reactions that directly impact physiology. Beyond the well-established placebo effect, modern psychology and medicine are dedicated to the study of spontaneous remission. This term refers to the unexpected and, at times, inexplicable improvement or complete disappearance of a serious illness, especially in cases of cancer, without any medical treatment or with a treatment considered insufficient to produce such a result. Although rare and often without a clear explanation, spontaneous remission is a fascinating field of study that, for many researchers and the general population, raises intriguing questions about non-medical factors that may be at play. This includes the role of faith, psychological resilience, optimism, and the innate ability of the immune system to fight disease under specific conditions. Cases of patients who, after being diagnosed with terminal illnesses and bleak prognoses, recover surprisingly and attribute their healing to divine intervention. Unwavering faith, a sudden shift in life perspective, or an unyielding will to live serve as concrete examples of the complexity of the interactions between the psyche and the soma. These manifestations, whether fully explained by science or not, illustrate the persistent and profound belief in the ability of faith and the mind to influence human health, inviting us to investigate the underlying mechanisms of these phenomena that continue to challenge our purely materialistic understanding of disease and healing. Contemporary neuroscience offers us a fascinating window into beginning to understand how the mind can exert such a profound influence on the body, even in conditions that seem as limiting as paralysis. The concept of neuroplasticity is the central pillar of this understanding, the remarkable capacity of the brain to reorganize itself, form new neural connections, and adapt functionally and structurally throughout life. Unlike the old view of a static and immutable brain after childhood, today we know that it is a dynamic and malleable network, constantly reconfiguring itself in response to experiences, learning, and even thoughts and emotions. When the lame man at the beautiful gate hears Peter's peremptory command, "Rise up and walk," accompanied by his unwavering faith and Peter's unbelief, an intense emotional and mental stimulus may have been generated. This stimulus, in turn, may have acted as a powerful catalyst, perhaps reactivating brain areas related to movement that were dormant, inhibited, or underutilized due to the man's condition. It's not about creating movement from nothing, but rather unlocking or optimizing existing neural pathways that, for some reason, were not operating. It is crucial to consider the role of psychosomatic disorders and conversion hysteria here. In cases where there is no apparent physical damage to the nerves or muscles that would justify paralysis, but motor function is lost, the mind is, in some complex and often unconscious way, inhibiting movement. These are conditions where extreme stress, deep psychological traumas, or unresolved internal conflicts can manifest as physical symptoms that simulate neurological diseases, including paralysis, functional blindness, deafness, or aphonia, without any neurological or organic basis that clinically justifies these symptoms. In these scenarios, where the brain, under an overwhelming emotional load, seems to shut down or inhibit certain motor or sensory functions as an unconscious defense mechanism. Spontaneous remission or healing through intense psychological interventions, such as deep psychotherapy, clinical hypnosis, or, in the biblical context, a strong belief and command from a highly respected spiritual authority figure, is a documented, though rare, phenomenon. The nervous system is not structurally damaged, but it is functionally inhibited. And a powerful stimulus can reconnect these circuits, allowing function to return. Modern studies, using advanced technologies such as functional magnetic resonance imaging and electroencephalography, have empirically demonstrated that the practice of meditation, guided visualization exercises, and even religious or spiritual belief can activate specific brain regions. These regions include areas associated with pain regulation, mood modulation, well-being, and even the modulation of autonomic functions, such as heart rate and immune response. Faith, in this neuroscientific context, can be interpreted as a powerful mental program or a set of ingrained beliefs that, through neural and neurochemical pathways, is capable of reprogramming the brain. This reprogramming can lead to the release of neurotransmitters such as dopamine and serotonin, endorphins and hormones that promote healing, cell regeneration, and body homeostasis. This is not magic devoid of basis, but a complex and intricate interplay between the central nervous system, the endocrine system, and the immune system, a biological orchestration finely tuned by the force of conviction and the mind. Neuroplasticity allows us to glimpse how the mind can, in fact, reshape the brain itself and, by extension, the body. To attempt to decipher the miracle of the lame man's healing from a more scientific and less metaphysical perspective, it is absolutely crucial that we make a clear and detailed distinction between two fundamental types of paralysis, those induced by psychological trauma or of psychosomatic origin, and those caused by organic, structural, and irreversible damage to the nervous or muscular system. In the specific case of the man at the temple gate, the biblical narrative in Acts 3 states that he was lame from birth. This description, at first glance, strongly suggests a congenital condition, a severe malformation, or irreversible physical damage present from birth, such as a bone malformation, a spinal cord injury, or a degenerative neuromuscular condition. However, it is important to note that the term lame in antiquity and in biblical texts was often a generic term that could encompass a much wider range of conditions than modern and precise medical classifications. It did not necessarily indicate a complete and irreversible spinal cord injury, an incurable bone malformation, or a progressive degenerative disease. One might conjecture, from a psychosomatic perspective, that the man's paralysis had a significant component of functional or psychological origin. If the man's paralysis was of a psychosomatic nature, that is, without an identifiable physical cause or structural damage to the nerves, muscles, or spinal cord, but manifested by a deep psychological or emotional problem, then the possibility of an instantaneous healing by a strong emotional stimulus, a profound belief, or a powerful suggestion becomes much more plausible within a scientific framework. In cases of conversion disorders, which are a form of somatoform disorder and are recognized in psychiatry, extreme stress, deep psychological traumas, or unresolved internal conflicts can manifest as physical symptoms that simulate neurological diseases, including paralysis, functional blindness, deafness, or aphonia, without any neurological or organic basis that clinically justifies these symptoms. In these scenarios, where the brain, under an overwhelming emotional load, seems to shut down or inhibit certain motor or sensory functions as an unconscious defense mechanism, spontaneous remission or healing through intense psychological interventions such as deep psychotherapy, clinical hypnosis, or, in the biblical context, a strong belief and command from a highly respected spiritual authority figure is a documented, though rare, phenomenon. The nervous system is not structurally damaged, but it is functionally inhibited, and a powerful stimulus can reconnect these circuits, allowing function to return. On the other hand, if the man's paralysis was, in fact, caused by a severe and irreversible congenital malformation, irreversible traumatic spinal cord damage, or an advanced progressive degenerative neuromuscular disease, then the instantaneous and complete healing that the Bible describes would, from the perspective of current science and its knowledge of the limits of the human body, be a phenomenon that transcends natural understanding and clearly leans towards the realm of the miracle. The analysis of the biblical account in light of these differential knowledges invites us to ponder the exact nature of the man's paralysis and how deep its connection was to psychological and emotional aspects, allowing us to explore the intersection between what science can rationally explain and what, for now, remains in the realm of the extraordinary and the inexplicable by our current science. Faith, in its multiple and diverse manifestations, be it religious, spiritual, or even unwavering belief in the efficacy of science and medicine, continues to exert a significant and often underestimated power in promoting human health and well-being in the 21st century. This influence transcends the boundaries of the inexplicable and finds resonance in contemporary therapeutic practices and approaches that science is beginning to validate. In hospital and healthcare settings, for example, a patient's belief in the effectiveness of a treatment, regardless of its nature, can demonstrably accelerate the recovery process, reduce pain perception, and significantly improve adherence to treatment. This is the core of the placebo effect, but it also extends to the conviction that a real medication or surgery will yield the expected results. Integrative medicine, a growing and increasingly accepted field of healthcare, explicitly recognizes the importance of approaching the patient as a whole, not just the physical body with its pathologies, but also the mind, emotions, spirit, and social context. In this holistic approach, the individual's faith and spirituality are seen as crucial components of the healing and well-being process, and are actively considered and respected in the treatment plan. The benefits of resilience, purpose in life, and social support often provided by faith are recognized. Furthermore, stress reduction programs based on mindfulness and various forms of meditation, which often involve elements of faith in the individual's innate ability to promote their own healing and well-being, are increasingly used and validated by rigorous scientific research. Positive visualization, prayer, and meditation, by promoting a state of deep relaxation, reducing chronic stress, improving sleep quality, and generating hope, can modulate the body's response to stress and disease. These practices demonstrate, for example, the ability to reduce inflammatory markers and improve immune response. Faith in modern science and medicine is equally fundamental for patient adherence to treatment and for therapeutic success. A patient who fully trusts their doctor, the healthcare team, and the proposed treatment has a significantly higher probability of following medical guidelines, which directly impacts clinical outcomes. The expectation that a medication or surgery will work can, by itself, activate neural and biochemical pathways that optimize the body's response to medical intervention. Research in psychoneuroimmunology is a field of science that explores the complex and intricate interactions between the mind, the nervous system, the endocrine system, and the immune system. This area has revealed how a person's mental and emotional state can directly influence disease resistance, recovery speed, and even the progression of certain chronic conditions. Faith, in this sense, can be interpreted as a potent psychobiological modulator. By promoting positive emotions such as hope, gratitude, and optimism, and by reducing negative emotions such as fear, anxiety, and stress, faith can influence the release of neurotransmitters and hormones that, in turn, optimize immune function, reduce inflammation, and create an internal environment more conducive to health and recovery. Thus, the healing of the lame man, viewed through this contemporary lens, is not merely an isolated event from the past. It is a powerful mirror reflecting the enduring and multifaceted power of the mind and belief over the body. A phenomenon that continues to intrigue, inspire scientific research, and shape new therapeutic approaches that unite the best of science and humanity. Despite the monumental advancements in neuroscience, psychology, and modern medicine, which have allowed us to map the brain, understand biochemical processes, and develop innovative therapies, The Healing of the Lame Man by Peter and John, with its instantaneousness, depth, and apparent overcoming of known biological laws, continues to defy a purely materialistic and reductionist explanation. What the central theme of this script reveals to us is a fundamental and often humbling truth. Perhaps our understanding of human consciousness and its full capabilities is still in its infancy. There is a realm that transcends what we are capable of measuring, quantifying, and replicating in a laboratory. A realm of the inexplicable, of synchronicity, of forces that seem to operate beyond the laws of physics and biology as we currently understand them. Could faith, in its deepest essence, be a key to accessing innate capacities of the body and mind that science cannot yet fully map or decipher? Could unwavering belief deactivate or reactivate neural circuits in ways so profound that they defy our conventional logic? The point here is not to deny the validity and importance of science, but rather to acknowledge its current limitations in the face of phenomena that, by their very nature and complexity, may be intrinsically linked to aspects of reality for which we do not yet possess the tools, paradigms, or even the conceptual language to fully investigate. It is an invitation to epistemological humility. The divine touch, or divine intervention, can be powerful metaphors, not necessarily for an external supernatural intervention that breaks the laws of nature, but perhaps for a complex and yet incomprehensible interaction between energies, intentions, and the inherent potential within human consciousness itself. Perhaps faith is a form of psychic energy or a state of consciousness that, under certain conditions, can catalyze healing processes that medicine does not yet understand. The narrative of the lame man invites us to cultivate an open mind, to remain curious and humble in the face of the vast unknown that surrounds us and resides within ourselves. It reminds us of the vastness of the mystery of existence and the persistent possibility that reality is much more multifaceted, interconnected, and responsive to consciousness than our current scientific and philosophical models can capture and explain. Perhaps faith is not just a passive belief in something beyond, but an active force, a form of energy, or a mental programming that can directly influence matter, biology, and even the perception of reality. It is possible that it is a bridge to dimensions of healing and human experience that we can only glimpse and name, for now through what we call a miracle. This final reflection leaves us with a sense of wonder at the unexplored human potential and the complexity of the universe, and an invitation to continue exploring the frontiers of knowledge, where science meets mystery and the inexpressible.